conventionally unattractive according to mainstream society, but also I am Black British, and within the Black community, it being made clear to me, for example, that I am not the creme has actually been an advantage. And I've been thinking about this because since growing this platform, there have been lots of men in particular who feel as though they need to tell me what I look like, tell me that I'm ugly. That aside, it has brought up some thoughts for me around the fact that actually it's an advantage for me. And I tell you why. I come from a family and an environment where I am surrounded by women who are deemed to be the creme de la creme. Some of them are viewed to be desirable and attractive from a mainstream beauty standard. And some of them, if you're looking at the Black community in Britain, maybe even within African American culture in the US, they are deemed to be top tier. But here's the thing. They often had more nonsense to filter through. So really, I feel sorry for them, right? I say this with love and grace because when I'm hearing them talk about their experiences with dating, navigating men, they have higher volumes of nonsense to filter through than I've had. One of the things that you realize if you're observing, and because I know that there are people who are slow, people who are in the bottom set at school, because what you're going to do, because it's easy and predictable and lazy, is say that I'm jealous or that I'm encouraging competition between women. I am just observing, commenting on observations that are real. What I notice though is that often when women who want to be chosen by men, what we have to remember is that you are being chosen based on desirability. Because really, in reality, what men are not promising women who are deemed to be the most beautiful or attractive is that they will honor, cherish, respect them, and even protect them. That's not the promise. And it's definitely not the experience of every one of those women, right? It doesn't matter how beautiful you are. It doesn't matter how desirable you are in a general consensus way to men. It does not guarantee that they are going to respect you. We still see women who are beautiful and attractive, deemed to be sexy, being discarded, dismissed, mistreated. And again, for those who are in the bottom set at school, I am not encouraging competition. What I am saying is that we have to be aware as women around competition and how futile and pointless it is. Because what you're competing for, if it is a competition, right, if you're being competitive, is the booby prize. Because these men who hold up these standards, like I said, they're not looking to respect and honor you. There's no guarantee of that. None whatsoever. I mean, look at Halle Berry. Her ex-husband, after 30 years of their divorce, was one, talking about her, but two, saying the most beautiful woman in the world, she is considered to be one of the most beautiful women in the world, did not cook and clean. Do you see where I'm going here? It doesn't matter whether or not you meet these standards or not. It is not a guarantee that on a day-to-day basis, in terms of genuine interpersonal interactions, you will experience respect.
I remember when I was labeled the ugliest girl of the year and my self-esteem hit the ground. It shattered in seconds. I had a best friend and she basically lied about me having a crush on a guy that she had a crush on. And then in turn, that guy said the worst things about me. And my best friend at that time would come back to me and be like, he said this about you, and this person said this about you, and everyone's calling you ugly, and he said you're the ugliest girl in the year. And my friends would post on their stories of like what looks like telonyms, like anonymous messages that people used to send and like whatever, of like people saying that I'm so ugly. Questions like, why did she think she's pretty? I couldn't even look into mirrors. Like I had to like cover mirrors, close my eyes every time I passed a mirror in my house. I didn't even want to leave the house because I just had so much anxiety around my appearance. I felt like every time a stranger looked at me, they would look at me because I was the most hideous person they've ever seen in their life. I'm in a position where like I genuinely love the way that I look and I love my appearance, but it's not even because I look at myself and I'm like, oh, I'm the prettiest girl ever, like oh my gosh, like no. I just look at myself and like I don't care. Like I see a strong person who went through a lot. I didn't let the bad things that happened in my life make me into a bitter person, but rather made me into a person who wants to do good and wants to be good for myself and others. And to me, that is the epitome of beauty. And I love myself so much for not falling into the trap of just letting the world make me cruel. People who comment on other people's appearances need to do that so that they can feel good about themselves because they already hate themselves so much. You cannot possibly love yourself and go out of your way to degrade people. That is not someone who loves themselves. Someone who loves themselves, doesn't compare themselves with others, and doesn't want other people to feel like shit because of their own insecurities, okay? Let go. Move on. Because people are just people and opinions are just opinions. These people, they mean nothing. If you decide that their opinions mean nothing, then they mean nothing. They hold no gravity.
This trend of Black women getting on here talking about how they're ugly is alarming, and we need to chat. I watched the main creator's video top to bottom, and it was very jarring. And I don't even really want to get in necessarily her specific take. I more so want to just talk about the importance of being a polished woman. A polished woman does not have to have a pound of makeup on. A polished woman is going to keep her hair done. She's going to make sure that her hygiene is up there. The whole idea of this conversation being centered around what men like is unreal, because a man will probably screw a dust collector. So it's just like, that is so not an issue to me. I think that the focus should be on how can we build our confidence up and how can we become more polished just as young women, and everything else will soon follow through. It's quite alarming hearing people hop on here calling themselves ugly, and it's really sad to see. And I think that if we just kind of loop back to just what can I do to increase my confidence so I'm not getting on the internet saying that I'm an ugly person, that's the conversation. But the waters are getting kind of murky on here, and it's a bit much.
Y'all want permission to sit around and talk about how you're ugly, and I'm not going to give it to you. You want validation in your ugly girl experiences, and I'm not going to validate you. You have turned other people's perceptions of you into your reality, and that is your problem. Is it your fault that you have low self-esteem? No. Is it your fault that you have low self-confidence? No. Is it your fault that you think you're ugly? No. I'm sure you didn't put that idea in your head. But unfortunately, in adulthood, it is our responsibility often to fix problems in ourselves that we did not create. We're usually not the root causes of our own anxieties and depressions and attachment issues, but if we don't fix them, we negatively impact the people around us, just like those people who caused our issues impacted us. I've seen so many comments of women saying that their moms told them they were ugly, their family, their friends. You think that those people were walking around brimming with self-love and confidence? No. So if you are suffering with low self-worth, chances are you're not just miserable, but you're impacting the people around you.
I'm talking about being an ugly fat Black girl in corporate America, and there's white women in my comments saying that we are the same. And then in my response to calling out the fact that we are not the same, say that I am trying to invalidate people who aren't Black, everybody who isn't Black. I'm trying to invalidate while I'm speaking on my lived experience, my very specific lived experience that I referenced yesterday, where thousands of people liked and thousands of people watched, and plenty of Black women resonated. But somehow this white woman has to have the gall to be angry with me for not centering the sameness and the likeness of me and white women while I'm talking about a very specific. And this is why my frustration with integration, because we have never been properly integrated as a company. This is a failed integration experiment, and it always has been. Because if you cannot recognize the differences in me, then you cannot properly perceive me. And if I know for a fact that you can't properly perceive me, I know that I cannot trust you. And at the very least, if you know that you can't perceive me, be honest about that. Then I could trust you. I can trust anybody who's honest. But the people who literally look me dead in my face or come dead ass to my platform and lie and act like they have no idea how we are not the same, and then to have other women of color joining in the conversation, talking about, yeah, that's right, we're not the same. We're not the same, and I'm never going to trust anybody who says that we are, because we aren't. The way through has always been for us to give up something, for my people to give up something in exchange for you to do what you should have been doing the whole time, which is respecting the unique differences of us all. But because you are so fucking fascist as a people, because you are addicted to sameness, because you literally rebuke individuality like it's a demonic spirit haunting the earth, Y'all are constantly doing this in the spaces. This is my motherfucking platform, and it always has been. That's why it's self-titled Naira the Goddess. Period. This is always going to be my perspective, and you're never going to be able to argue with me about my lived experience. Period.
As an ugly girl, I've lived this life, so I know what it looks like. When I was working with the Philadelphia School District, I was working in behavior modification, and I remember there was a group of women specifically in this classroom I worked. And the women were very mean to one of the girls there, and she was an ugly girl, and I identified with her because we looked very similar in our aesthetic and how we presented and the lack of, just security in the environment. Like, I resonated with her frequency. I had been her before, so I could see her vividly. And there was the queen bee structure that was in place, and I want to talk more about the queen bee structure that tends to take place in a lot of feminine energy. There's a queen bee, and then there's her number 2 bee, right? Now, this queen bee archetype is usually she's not as pretty. Like, think about Beyonce and how, like, in Destiny's Child, a lot of people are like, oh, I personally like Kelly. The reason why they feel the need to say that is because they knew that Beyonce was recognized as the most beautiful in Destiny's Child, right? We all know that. Doesn't matter who your favorite is. We're talking about the societal construct, and Beyonce was recognized as the most beautiful, okay? So, moving on. I recognized the queen bee structure, that she was on the outskirts, and there was 2 other women alongside her, but usually just one. So it was the 2 of them on her all the time. And the bullying that this woman endured, I observed that. Now, out of the 21 opportunities a week that I would have to see this, no, not 21, I fucked up. Out of the 56 opportunities I would have to potentially see this woman per week, I only was in their classroom 4 times of the 56. And even I could see very clearly that this woman is being abused, this woman is being bullied, and this woman is receiving ugly treatment. Again, she's not aesthetically pleasing to look at, okay? She's not aligned with the most desirable physical features. And on top of that, because she has been brutalized, she's so uncertain that it's even happening to her anymore. It has been happening for so long that it has shifted and dimmed her awareness. She started to gaslight herself. She's starting to mute. And you can tell by her posture, and you can tell by how she received even people looking in the room. Well, you could tell a lot of things by people's eyes. When I would walk in the room, her eyes would instantly find mine. And usually when someone's eyes are trying to find your eyes, they actually want to be seen. People who avoid eye contact and looking around, a lot of times they don't want to be seen. Or they just not in this world, okay? Which is also fine. But specifically, she looked at me. She's seeking connection. Physically, she's seeking connection. And I went over to her before, and I see the queen bee out of my peripheral. I went over to her. I was like, how are you doing today? And she was like, paused. Processing being perceived. So used to being overlooked, she's processing being received. Okay? Stuck that I see her. Come over to her, and then I'm approaching her. And I'm approaching her in neutrality. I'm not approaching her with arrogance as if she's beneath me automatically because of some preconceived social construct. And I'm not pursuing her as if like she's a helpless, she needs to be pitied. I'm just perceiving her as a person. I'm just walking up to her and greeting her with kindness and letting her know I see her. Hi, how are you today? Very simple. But the intention behind it was very powerful. And it also sends a message that I'm not falling in line to the queen bee. This is what a lot of those innovator archetypes, like such as myself, we come into places and we try to improve them. A lot of light workers, whatever it is, like, I don't know. There's no specific name for it. It's just people who are aware. I don't give a fuck what label you want to put on it, what concept you come from, what background you are. It's just people who have awareness. People who have a higher frequency just mean people who are more aware. That's what it is. Frequency and awareness. It doesn't have anything to do with eating alkaline or eating, a mushroom and lentil diet or whatever crystals or stones you like. It doesn't have anything to do with any of that shit. None of that shit is going to shift your awareness if you don't have it turned on. I'm not saying that the woo-woo doesn't work.
to its capacity, for depending on, because that is just represented by your belief system. Whatever you believe and is what's going to work. Okay? So anyway, the queen bee structure is already in place, and she has her minion working, and the minion is taking me in. That's the one that's sizing you up. They're number 2, because she wants to please the queen bee. She wants to please her. So she's already trying to solve her problem, because that is mostly her function. Her function is to problem solve, and then usually number 3 is to enforce whatever is coming from the queen bee. That's how these structures tend to work. So she's identifying me, she's taking me in, she's reading me, and I feel them all in my peripheral. And then I turn around and I greet them. I was like, how are y'all? I don't wait for a reply for them, because honestly, I was being a bitch. You know, I saw them being a bitch, and I don't like bullies. You know what I'm saying? I'm the person that will bully the bully, you know, and hence why I am making all of y'all aware to these behaviors. And you'll see in the comments, the bullies, they hate me. They hate me wherever they go, because I can see right through them, and I don't buy into their antics, because I know what you are. So I don't buy into their antics. But so this is the beginning of a relationship, because the dynamic is I am going to be in this space for the rest of the school year. So different behaviors progress, okay, and the story gets interesting over time. But I just want to kind of set the scene for y'all so that we can have real life live experiences, because I've told y'all I've lived these experiences.
Where are the men that like mid-looking black woman? Key an experiment. I'm trying to prove somebody wrong.
Feels like that saddened me, and I'm not in the business to tell someone that they're not something that they feel deep inside, because outside of how they feel, there's been experiences that probably validate those thoughts that she has about herself. And so that's another video for another day. But I think we got to be careful about, like, where are the men who are interested in women who aren't quote-unquote baddies or cutie patooties or whatever. If a man ever approaches me and goes, hey, I like you. I thought you were mid-looking. I thought you were average Annie. Didn't think you were anything special, and it turned me on. I'd be like, get away from me. Yes, people are conventionally attractive. People have eyes. You can tell somebody's pretty. There's pretty privilege. It's been attested to be pretty or beautiful is visibly pleasing, but attractiveness is being pleasing to all the different senses. And so sometimes you will meet somebody and their aroma, that's why I love putting on perfume, will just exude a certain type of essence, and you want to be next to them. The way that they smile, the way that they act, the way that they treat people. And so there are men who are looking for beautiful women like her, like you. But also you have to know that and not lower the standard. And I know someone's like, no, she's just being honest, she's just telling the truth. If we're saying we're ugly, which, by the way, I hate that word. Nobody really is ugly. I have rarely seen an ugly person a day in my life. Being ugly means you're repulsive. So if someone's not throwing projectile vomit at you, you're not ugly. Yes, average people exist, and most average people are decent looking. Average does not mean ugly. Let's take out ugly out the equation. Everyone's going to be Zendaya. Not everyone's going to be Bella Hadid.
Where are the men that like mid-looking black woman?
So I saw this video and it got my gears turning. Here's why. This is what she says at the beginning of the video. I'm going to let it play one more time so we can make sure we heard her correctly.
Where are the men that like mid-looking black woman?
Now, the reason why I showed it again was because she then says this in her most recent video.
Just say y'all didn't get the plot. Like, y'all felt like something I'm noticing is TikTok is literally focusing on one subject. Y'all are focusing on one conversation. Y'all literally think that post was about getting a man.
Now, why I'm making a think piece on this is because she literally says, where are the men, at the start of the video. But we're going to let the rest of the video play. So let's hear her out and listen to the rest of the original main video. Here we go.
I like all flavors of the rainbow. I don't care, like your ethnicity or anything. This is low-key an experiment. I'm trying to prove somebody wrong.
We'll come back to what that might mean in just a second. Because yes, most black women are drop dead gorgeous, but then there's black women that look like me that aren't drop dead gorgeous. We still need love though. I've been single for 16 years. 16 fucking years, you guys. Now she says all of this is an experiment and that we've lost the plot. And I'm going to assume that the said plot is what she says right here.
That being ugly is liberating.
What?
And I'm not even saying being ugly is liberating. I'm saying that, like, us people that think we're ugly is liberating. Like, if we can sit back instead of doing extreme things and completely changing how we look to maybe get towards the goal, like kind of towards the goal, instead of loving the skin that we're in, and in the skin that we are in, we may consider it ugly. Does that not sound good to anybody?
I'm sorry, no, it doesn't. And here's why. If you find yourself unattractive, 9 times out of 10, that means you have very low self-esteem and very high insecurities. What it reminds me of is that one SpongeBob episode, like, I'm ugly and I'm proud. Now here's where the problem lies. We're gonna go back a little bit. You said we were missing the plot.
Just say y'all didn't get the plot.
And that it wasn't about men. When you literally said,
where are the men?
And then got mad when everybody focused on the part that you said, where are the men?
TikTok is literally focusing on one subject.
Now this confused me because was it not about getting a man? You can't start a video saying where are the men and then backtrack in another video and say that video wasn't about trying to get a man. But I'm a critical thinker, so I decided to figure out what this plot you were talking about was, which is why I showed what I figured the plot you were trying to make was, which is being liberated and calling yourself ugly. But hey, it's not about being liberated and being ugly. It's about being content with being ugly. So basically you said, where are the men looking for women who are okay with being ugly? Because you said your point was women should be okay with being ugly and content with being ugly if they feel like they're ugly. So you said you were looking for men who wanted women who felt that way. The reason why everybody's not okay with this is because it sounds like the conjuring of narcissists. Why would you ever want to be with a man while you're extremely insecure and have little to no self-esteem? Do you think he's going to swoop in and make you feel beautiful? No, he's going to make you feel 20 times worse so you don't want to lose him, and make you feel like he's the only man that you'll ever get. That's the issue that everybody has with this. It's because you start your video saying, where are the men who want mid women? No one should ever think of themselves as mid, ugly, or be liberated by the fact that they feel like that. Ugly is a mental state, huh? If you think you're ugly, it's because you think you're ugly. It's because you feel deep down inside that you're ugly. That is a cry for help on the inside. You need to fix that by doing some type of healing, doing some soul searching, figure out why you feel like that, figure out what made you feel like that. Not sit in it and be content in it and look for men who are okay with you being content with not being secure in yourself and trying to formulate a group of women who feel like that. No, that's not okay at all. No woman should ever feel that way. And if you do, please, for the love of God, find the source, figure it out and heal it. Whether it be a physical change, a mental change, or an emotional change. Because, like I said, it doesn't have to be a physical change. But if you feel like it needs to be, then make it physical. But mainly, the feeling that you get of that makes you feel like you're not pretty is a mental thing. It is a mental state. It's a mental state. So yes, everybody had a problem with your video because it just sounds like the conjuring of narcissists all around the world looking for women who are like, yes, I feel the same way. I'm also mid. Is there a man looking for me? No, please don't. Be with yourself, heal yourself, and then when you are ready, mentally, physically, emotionally, get with a man. Maybe, because, you know, the men out here now, yeah. But yeah, moral of the story, you're not ugly. You're actually very beautiful. And I hope one day you can feel that same way. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Bye, guys.
Now, I went down the TikTok rabbit hole, and TikTok is a crazy place sometimes, right? You can find the funny videos, the lighthearted videos, the sad videos, and just the powerful, touching videos, and everything else in between that I didn't mention, right? So I went down the TikTok rabbit hole, and I came across, some videos that some young women were in that were, talking about being ugly. And some of their struggles with being ugly, being the ugly friend, just being an ugly person, an unattractive person. And that resonated with me because I too have felt like that. I am currently actively working on my confidence as I speak. You know what I mean? And if you know me, you know that. Okay, so back to those videos. So these women were pouring their heart out, right? They were being transparent. They were being raw, real, vulnerable, all of the things about their experiences being the ugly friend or an ugly person or just a very unattractive person. And when we talk about being ugly, we have to keep in mind that we are talking about it in relation to societal norms, societal beauty standards, right? And let's not be fake here. Let's be really real, right? The bigger your nose is, the bigger your lips are, the bigger eyes you have, the bigger forehead you have, the darker your skin is, you are going to be put in a box. You are going to be put in a category. Your proximity to whiteness is what makes you beautiful. This is textbook ABC 1, 2, 3, okay? And so with that context in mind, I came across a lot of people in the comment section or like a few reaction videos that, pretty much said, girl, I had to block her because we don't have time for that. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to do that. Or, you have low self-esteem. It's like, no shit. No shit, they have low self-esteem. That's exactly what they're talking about, right? And I think we do ourselves a disservice when we don't allow for people to be real, right, about what their experiences are. And I think that's more a reflection of what we have going on, right? Watching some of these videos takes you back. It makes you reflect. It makes you think about all of the times that you might have been mean to somebody who might have been less attractive to you, right? It takes you back to a place and a time that forces you to hold yourself accountable. And if not that, at least empathize with where it is that they're coming from. And to us, they might look beautiful, right? And I saw a lot of that as well. A lot of these women were receiving so much love from people in the comments about, their beauty and all of that. But for them, it's not about that. It's really about what their experiences were leading up to the making of this video and just really sitting in the fact that we are a very cruel world. The world is not a nice place. The world is not a nice place. So instead of maybe judging them for putting themselves out there in this way and being vulnerable and being transparent, maybe just sit with that for a second. Just sit with it for a second, empathize with them, put yourself in their shoes, and just really think about maybe the privilege that you have, the privilege that you hold because you've never been labeled as ugly or because you've always kind of fit in for the most part into whatever societal beauty standards exist.